Bull bluegills roaming deep muddy basins offer anglers untapped opportunities, but they also call for special weapons and tactics. Let's join fish heads John Thelen and guest Jeff Sundin for tips on lure selection and techniques.
Fish down there right away this morning. Just a question of getting them to bite. There you go.
Yep, that's not too bad.
Another one sitting down there too.
This one doesn't feel like it's the whopper of the lake.
It's okay, it's a start.
Yeah, it's a nice start.
That's not a bad start at all. I'd throw him in the pail for dinner, buddy.
Nothing wrong with that, is there?
Nope. It's a great start. There he is, got him. He had a buddy with, and it just took a few minutes to get him to be willing to hit it. There's still another one down there yet.
There you go, there's nothing wrong with that either.
I'll take that start any day of the week when you know, I'll call that a double.
Right.
I mean, that's as close to a double as you're going to get. We're out bluegill fishing today, and we're fishing some deep, deep water, and fishing in a situation where most of the fish we catch today, unless it's a real little one, we can know it up front, bring them up really slow, we're probably going to keep them. But here's the thing about what we're doing today. We're fishing in a situation where it's really, really important to have small and slow-moving baits. These fish have moved out into this deeper stuff. They're in the mud now, and they're feeding on larvae. They're feeding on different hatches. There's no more minnow feeding. That was happening earlier in the year up in the weeds. Now they're out here on this little stuff, and it's really important to be able to get to the fish and fish with something small but yet heavy enough, like a tungsten jig like we're fishing today, that allows you to get down there and have control of your bait. There he is. Got him. Boy, this one just barely touching Jeff. This feels like a real good one.
That looks a lot better.
You know, a lot of times your best gills will be the finickiest ones, and they, you know, that's how they get big. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Look at that one.
There's a beauty.
That's what we're chasing today. Look at that. What a dynamite fish. You can see how that fish hit it. I mean, you've got that tungsten bug. It comes in two different sizes, 12s and 14s. I'm using the 12 today because we're chasing bigger gills, but you can see where he's got it. I mean, he's got it right in that upper lip, and the reason he does is because this jig hangs horizontally. So while I'm sitting there fishing and working this fish, this thing's hanging horizontal. When he finally just grabs it over the end, when I set that hook, it just comes right up into that upper lip. And fish like that one, I mean, at that point, he had no chance. I mean, that was it. It was done. But one of the things that I think is so important is, you know, we're sitting today in 20 feet of water. And this is what I call deep water. Anytime I get past 15 feet of water, I start thinking I'm in pretty deep water. You know, 15 and less, I think I'm in shallower water. And I say that, and it sounds so academic, but realistically, you fish differently in those two depths. When you get down into this 20 feet of water, a lot of times what happens is these fish, as they've slid out and they're meandering around out here, they're not as packed up as tight, because now there's more water. There's the water column up and down, and there's more space out here because they're not feeding on such a defined little area. So when you do get a school of fish through, it's so important to be able to get back down on them fast. And that's why we're using tungsten. You know, when tungsten was first developed, most people said, well, there's the main reason is to get down there fast. And I agree with that. I love the fact that I can get back down to these fish in a hurry. But I think the biggest thing to me about tungsten is that when I'm down there, I've got a straight line. I mean, when you look at this right here, because this jig is so heavy, I've got this very straight line to my jig. If this is lead in the water, you've got just a little bit more sag in your line, a little bit more bow, and you don't feel everything the same. So I've taken the long way to get into where I'm going here. Ultimately, that fish, he barely touched it. I mean, he's one of those bigger gills that got big because he was cautious all these years. He barely touched it, but because I'm using that tungsten, I've got that weight in that small jig, I still had a straight line and I could feel him hit it. And I think that is one of the biggest keys to bluegill fishing, is being able to know when you get bit, because there's a lot of times If you were using lead, if you weren't using enough weight, you wouldn't have felt that fish hit. When he grabbed it, he would have just been hanging on there, and ultimately there'd be enough bow in your line that you wouldn't have felt it. So that's where I think tungsten can make such a big, huge difference.
Come on, little buddy.
Couple of them down there now. There he is, got him.
There you go. That's a good one.
Well,
looks like it.
I don't know. You know, it gets so hard to tell. They're all good. Yeah, it is a decent one.
There. What's wrong with that fish right there?
That's another good one right there. You know, I'm using tungsten bug today, and like I was saying earlier, it comes in a size 12 and comes in a size 14. And this follows up on the tungsten toad that's been out for a couple years, and they've both been just dynamite baits. But you know, there's some old shapes that over the years have just been great, and that's one of what Jeff's using right now.
Yep, yeah. A lot of guys are going to be happy to see that.
Yeah,
that Fat Boy, tungsten Fat Boy. That was the whole the entire point of a Fat Boy to begin with, was a fast drop rate, have a nice compact jig that fished a little bit heavier. But now in tungsten, it's even better. We got all the same great colors. But what's really nice about that, sometimes when fish are moving a horizontal bait, when they're moving side to side, drifting across flats like they are here, there's lots and lots of surface area, so they can see that bait sideways from a long ways. I'm going to get it back down there. I can see fishing on the screen.
Oh, as soon as he sees me about to catch him, now he's in a hurry to get back down there.
Well, that's another nice thing about that tungsten, though, is that if you want to get down there in a hurry, you really can.
Then the other thing with Lindy and their tungsten jig series is the ice worm, and the ice worm's been around forever, just like the Fat Boy. And you know, they're two of the iconic shapes when it comes to pan fishing through the ice, and they're both available in tungsten now. Both available in a variety of great colors. And you know, the other thing about it, I spend a little bit of time with Jeff in the fall every year doing some crappie fishing. And one thing I always notice is he's got ice jigs tied on in the fall for his crappie fishing. And it's always either an ice worm or a Fat Boy. So don't forget that while you're out there buying these tungsten ice worms and Fat Boys and the bugs and the same old Lindy tungsten toad, the ones you've been catching fish on forever, buy some for the fall, because you're going to use them again later in the year.
And the reason for doing it right now, while it's on the shelf, you can find it, stock up now, because next summer you start getting into that fall bite, the ice fishing stuff isn't on the shelves, and it's really hard to find at that point. So now's a great time to get a tackle box set up for the fall and just have it ready to go.
Ooh, I missed him. He picked it off too, I bet. I'm going to go back down just to see if they'll react, but... Oh, he was... Ooh! There he goes.
Thanks for feeding him.
Yeah, I got him bigger for you. That one looks like a better one, huh?
I'm thinking about another...
Oh, look at that.
There's nothing wrong with those at all. Those are about ideal eating-sized fish, really.
That really is. That's a great way to wrap up the day. I'll tell you what. This is some of the funnest fishing you can do, and you know, I've always enjoyed getting out bluegill fishing, crappie fishing, whatever it may be, and now all those same old shapes that you grew up pan fishing with, the ice worm, the Fat Boy, the Lindy toad, the tungsten toad, and the Lindy tungsten bug, all available in tungsten, all kinds of sizes, all kinds of great colors. Get out and pick some of these up. They're on the shelves right now. Going to help you just catch more panfish, and get out and do this, because this is fun. Man, that's going to be a great meal later tonight, isn't it?
No kidding.